Please, we are about to commence, and the distinguished speakers and the panel already arrived for the evening. Before I move on further, let me briefly tell you what's happening at MMA, and so that you don't miss it. If you have missed in your inbox or you missed your WhatsApp message, you don't miss them watching this program. We have some outstanding events coming up. Next one, which is very important not to be missed, is happening on 28th of July. We are discussing on the review insight enabler for execution excellence. All about the execution, how you manage, and also how you see the feedback and many things. And we have an outstanding panel, outstanding speakers. We have CK Ranganathan, Chairman and MD of Cabin Care, Venkat Changalri. Venkat is the one who founded EMRI, that 108 ambulance which is going all over India is there. Another Executive Director of Indian Oil, and then Rajeshwari Krishnamurthy is a Professor of Practice in Marketing from Great Lakes Institute of Management, and President Mr. Lakshmi Narayan will also be there. Then on 5th of August, we have even jointly doing with Indo is doing jointly with MMA. That is the Tamil Nadu Real Estate Summit 2025. We'll be sharing the details with you. Very few things are allotted to us. It's happening at ITC Grand. So we'll let you know the date, and we'll let you know it's happening on 5th of August. Let you know the formalities to get registered soon, and so you can join us. Next book reading is happening on 12th of August, the Read and Grow series. The theme chosen is Inner Game of Work by Galway. So it's again interesting thing. It's happening on 12th of August. Then on 18th of August, we have, almost 18th of August fixed actually, that legal and tax consideration for estate and succession planning in India. So we have series of 3 we are doing jointly with Kaitan, Mumbai. We are trying to bring in succession is very, very important, not only individual organization, MSMEs, SMEs, it's also for the individuals. I know I've seen so many cases and so much of misunderstandings happening if the succession planning is not there. So we want to really impress upon the people how you can do this very efficiently. This is what we'll be discussing there. On 23rd of August, again, we are doing an event. This we are doing jointly with IT Madras at their place. There's a book written by Professor Sitaraman. He is All India Council for Technical Education, is the chairman, and so this book is happening on the road ahead 2.0 at IT Madras. So please do come and join us for this event. Then on 24th of August, we are going to, along with Murugappa group, the Madras quiz. Then 20th September, we have the 14th Cabin Care MMA Innovation Award. 20th of September, happening at IT Research Park. Then we also have another interesting event on 27th September. This is an issue which is really, really bothering many. This is on Data Trust Imperative, Technology Governance, and the Future of Data Protection Act. The Data Protection Act is in place, and if you don't take it seriously, many of the organizations, many of the things will be in deep trouble. I don't want we are done program till October. Let me stop it. And coming to today's event, Read and Grow. We all know why we do the Read and Grow is we strongly believe to be a great leader, you have to be a great reader. And how many of you read? I have seen personally so many senior people have come and spoken, corporate thing. They're all voracious readers. They read, they become high self-esteem, the ego is very less, they become so knowledgeable, and they are able to speak fluently without any getting stuck. And that's the reason we want this. We have been doing it series last 5 years without a break, only for the sake of our members and management students to really get to understand the Read and Grow. Even come and listen for a few minutes what the people are going to discuss. All the books what we discuss are outstanding piece of work actually. You must, I really urge upon you, it's all available in our YouTube channel and our all other channels of MMA. And it's also published as an article. I don't think anything beyond we can do. Sometimes we used to discuss, only thing we're not done, we're not come to your house and done the gardening. All other work we have done except make you to read actually. Please take this seriously and do this. And today's topic is again chosen by very, very beautifully by Ramaprasad. That is Multipliers, how the best leaders make everyone smarter. This is very, very interesting by Miss Liz Wiseman. And Liz Wiseman, this book is bringing new perspective leadership. We all think leadership means get the job done, supervise them. It's like a man with a whip and make them run around, do that. Here I learned something is, here leadership is understand the potential of that guy, make him a great learner, make him understand and do the work. It's not that the boardroom who is the smartest is the leader. It's to make all the people in the boardroom that what they know is make them also understand they're part of the journey, and each one of them is equally knowledgeable, like the guy who is a leader is not a leader. There are so many things I had, because of this Read and Grow, I read. And I can tell you honestly, it gave me a lot of perspective. And it also helped me in dealing with my own team, actually. My team is very small. Smaller the team, you are in more trouble, actually. So it helps you a lot, actually. Larger teams, somebody cushion aa jati hai. There's no cushion here. You have to be there. So coming, ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome a very, very high-profile panel, very, very distinguished panel. We have, please, to welcome them on stage, Sreenivassan Ramaprasad, Director, CADD Centre. We also have Sowmya Mahadevan, Chief Operating Officer of Kriyadocs, and also Mr. Sekhar, National President of Indo American Chamber of Commerce and CEO of Spike Power Protection System Technologies. Please. As usual, if you have any questions, those who are watching online, very warm welcome to each one of you. If you have any question, we'll be showing this QR code. You can scan the QR code and send it. Audience here, just you can send the question right from now so that we'll compile them and place it before the speaker. They agree to answer to all your questions. This is a subject on leadership. So leadership, you can have a lot of doubts and you can ask a lot of questions. They'll be happy to respond to all your questions, and we request you to only scan the QR code and send the question, because we would like to accommodate as many questions as possible. That will make it very interesting. There are a number of new initiatives also being made by MMA, and Venkat has brought the lovely LMS. Will be launching it soon. Our book, Volume 2, Turning Point from the leaders, is already published. It's available. Why I'm telling you, a lot of work is done at MMA. Please pick them up and read them and watch them, because we want all our members to be very wiser by the time they become MMA students, to be more smarter when they leave MMA. Read the LMS, what you have done, some lovely programs, certificate courses, talks, all the things will be available. You have to go through it on your own and get it done. So do that, and especially students, we see that the number of people participating, the quizzes is also going down, because we are doing this only for you. So do attend these quizzes. It will be very, very useful to you. Before I request Ramprasad to take it over, let me have the privilege of introducing the distinguished panel for this evening. Can I have the AV, please?
Mr. Sreenivassan Ramaprasad, Director at CADD Centre Training Services, is a seasoned leader with a master's from BITS Pilani and an NLP certification. Mr. Sreenivassan pioneered CADD Centre's expansion, built its equipment business to 50 crores rupees, and founded Samarthya to empower business skills. A dynamic speaker and Rotarian, Mr. Sreenivassan also served as CEO of iKids 3D Prints and Vice Chairman of IACC Tamil Nadu. Ms. Sowmya Mahadevan, Chief Operating Officer of Kriyadocs, is a strategy execution expert and award-winning leader driving agile innovation in scholarly publishing. A noted speaker and author, Ms. Sowmya champions continuous improvement and was honored with the CII Women Entrepreneur Award in 2023. Ms. Sowmya is also an avid marathon runner and music enthusiast. Mr. A. Sekhar, National President of IACC, 2024 to 25, and founder, CEO of Spike Power Protection Systems, is an expert in electrical protection, traffic safety, and wind energy solutions. A seasoned entrepreneur and industry leader, Mr. Sekhar has played a key role in bringing advanced global technologies to India. Mr. Sekhar is also active in social impact initiatives through Rotary and student-focused philanthropy.
Gentlemen, that's a profile of speakers for this evening. Maybe a warm round of applause to them. Welcome them again. And as much as you, I'm also really looking forward to the perspective. Over to you, Ramprasad.
Thank you, Group Captain Vijay Kumar, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for being here to listen to us on a very important and relevant review we are going to have on leadership. So when I was scouting around for a book to review, typically I pick up either sales or leadership. These are the two favorite topics of mine, and I came across this Multipliers, which was slightly different from the rest of the leadership books. So that's how we are here. I quickly run through the summary of this book so that you get a gist of what is given in the book. So this is written by Liz Wiseman, who was Oracle executive earlier, and she runs her own leadership institute. With the extensive research done on 150 plus leaders across the continents, she has come up with a very powerful paradigm. Leaders are either multipliers or diminishers, and the difference between the two can double the talent, intelligence, and capacity of the team. So the revised edition of the book contains about 288 pages and blends a lot of case studies and live examples. So it's a very easy read, and you could quickly relate to the book, and you will come across a lot of people aligning to the concepts shared in the book. So the core premise, the heart of the book lies deceptively simple yet transformative idea. Some leaders drain intelligence, energy, and capability from the team, while others amplify them. So multipliers are the leaders who bring out the brilliance in others, while diminishers often unintentionally shut down the creativity and initiative. So these are throughout the book, there will be examples given contrasting these two styles of leadership. So it has about 9 chapters where they go in detail into traits of the multipliers. So the central concept discussed here is the contrast, the assumptions of a multiplier. Multipliers always believe that people are smart and they can figure it out, while diminishers always believe that people need me to think for them. You know, that's the basic assumptions with which both these people do. And in the next 5 chapters, they discuss the traits of a multipliers, which are like, first, a multiplier is a talent magnet. So multipliers attract top talent and unleash people's native genius, while diminishers hoard talent and underutilize the teams. So multiplier basically identify good talent. They also find their native intelligence and put them in the right job. Whereas diminishers, they want to use their resources and without even knowing that they're underutilizing them. So the first trait is the talent magnet. In fact, when I read this, I immediately, it struck me that in the cricketing world, Sourav Ganguly, he brought in people like Yuvraj Singh and Dhoni, who was talent from smaller town, and they contributed very well to the country later on. You know, that was the first time where we saw some new faces coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities into the mainstream cricket. The second trait is they are liberators. What I mean by this, they create a safe yet challenging environment that brings out the people's best thinking. So the third trait is they are challengers. Rather than giving answers, they pose tough problems and stretch their teams to go beyond their perceived limits. Now, when I was reading about this, of course, again from the cricketing world, I got reminded of Kapil Dev in 1983. When India went in with no hope, nothing, we thought it's just passing by phase. He sort of brought the best out of them, challenged them to even beat the mighty West Indies, and we did it twice during the tournament. And that shows how a multiplier works. That came across in my mind. And there are other beautiful examples which are given in the book, which you can relate to quickly. You know, how a person called Vikram in Intel, when he worked with one of the bosses, George, he felt very important. He felt he's contributing to the business, and he also gave his best. But after 6 years, when he was moved to another boss, who was equally a good genius, but he felt he was virtually useless and he was totally underutilized, and over a period of time he lost the interest in the job. So basically what I'm saying is, in every organizations you have this diminishers and multipliers operating. Okay. Then the next one is decision making. Decision making is one of the most important tasks of a leader. And how do we go about doing it? So a multiplier is highly democratic. He involves everyone and debates over everything, and finally, gets the decision done where it is totally acceptable to the entire team. Whereas diminisher will take the decision and impose the decision on the followers. So he is a debate maker, which is the fourth trait. And finally, he is an investor. What I mean by investor is he delegates ownership with accountability. Fostering self encourages small practical experiments that allow leaders to shift behaviors and multiply intelligence over time. So, multipliers basically have this 5 traits which enables their followers to give their best, while the diminishers does exactly the opposite. So the 5 disciplines of a multiplier is talent magnet, a liberator, a challenger, a debate maker, an investor. So how these traits work on each one of us is what we are going to deliberate during this review today. Multipliers operate from the belief that others' capability, whereas diminishers operate from a scarcity mindset. That's already done. Sometimes there are well-meaning people who accidentally get into diminishing role. Actually, they want good for their people, but eventually get into protecting them or micromanaging them. In the process, they stifle their potential and growth. So once you identify this diminishes, how to transform yourself into multipliers is about the, it's discussed in the 7th chapter. And then, there is a chapter discussing strategies about how to deal with the diminisher. Various strategies, how to deal with the diminisher, because we come across diminishers right across in every organization. So how do you go about handling them? And what are the different types of strategies you can use to handle diminishers very well so that you give your best to your organization? Then the final chapter is all about how to become a multiplier from whatever you are. Even if you're a diminisher today, how to have a mind shift so that you can be a multiplier and contribute to the organization. So, some of the strengths of this book is it's deeply research-backed and insightful. So you can almost take it for granted that all the concepts discussed can be applied immediately. And packed with real-world examples. It's not imagination. It's all the examples given are something which happened in organizations, and it's actionable and self-reflective, and addresses both external impact and inner mindset. So, who can be benefited from this book? Entrepreneurs and founders who must scale their vision through people, COOs and managers, balancing operational control with team empowerment. Educators and coaches, developing others' thinking rather than giving answers, and anyone leading teams seeking to build smarter, more agile organization. So, the favorite quote which I can relate to is the best leaders are not the ones who have all the answers. They are the ones who ask the right questions. So, Multipliers is a must-read for leaders at every level. It goes beyond tips and techniques to reshape how we think about intelligence, leadership, and impact. Whether you are leading a startup, a large organization, or a creative team, this book will change how you lead and how others grow under your leadership. So I have with me 2 fantastic leaders from the industry. Mr. Sekhar, who is the current national president of IACC, and Ms. Sowmya, both are leading teams. So we are going to have their perspectives on the book from which we will learn a lot. In fact, that is the most important insights and inputs we are going to get from this book, which is very, very interesting and useful. Thank you very much for accepting my invitation, and I'm keenly looking forward to your insights on the book. So let me start with Sekhar and followed by you. So what are your key takeaways from the book, and where do you felt like, I can relate to this?
Well, see, my experience has been about 45 years in the industry now. I've worked with private sector, public sector, and then my own entrepreneurship journey. So most of the points which you were referring to, you experience in your part of your life. And the thing which was, it was not that, I mean, these were something new or something, but its question was, it was so well structured and written, which made you feel that how quickly you could summarize something which is so complex and which to be taken up, has been done very neatly with quoting right examples and so on. And I've been associated with American companies because this book had a lot of perspective with respect to the American companies, their way of ethos and how they go about. We have experienced the same thing also in the Indian company perspective, because that's experience which was there. So I've seen this happening. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I can't say specifically a particular place to say it's, the whole book as such is very well compiled and put in. And first, I forgot to thank MMA for giving us this opportunity to interact with you guys here. Okay, thanks, Ram.
Thank you, Sekhar. And Sowmya, what are your takeaways from the book? I think you're well read and I see all the notes out there.
First of all, I must thank you for inviting me as a panelist here and for suggesting this book, because I'd not heard about this book before you had spoken about it. And within the last, I think I started reading it about 45 days ago when you contacted me. There have been several instances where I've read that book and I'm like, oh my God, now I understand why this has not worked. So I want to actually talk a little bit about one thing that happened in the last 30 days, right? So I was working with a team and I had put together a cross-functional team because we were having some problems, some issues with one area of the product. And I wanted the operations team to work with the engineering team, with the support team and say, guys, solve the problem. What exactly is going on? And I would call this team, they're young people, call this team, lecture them, show them, tell them, talk to them. They will all shake their heads, walk away. Nothing would happen. Call them again 2-3 days later. What happened? What progressed? No, ma'am, we got distracted by that. We went over here, we went over there. Call them again, do the same. Motivation speech, inspiration. Why is this so important? This project is so important. They'll shake their heads, walk away. No change, nothing happens. As I was reading this book, I came across that debate maker. And I realized that I am calling these people, I am lecturing to them, I'm not giving them space to talk, I'm not giving them space to ask questions, I'm not allowing them to debate amongst themselves whether this is really the way to do it or not. That was a huge aha moment. The next time I called all of them and I said, you tell me what the problem is, you tell me what your observations are, what do you see? Each one actually did a beautiful job of coming up with a presentation and presented, this is our understanding, this is what we have. Next question, okay, what do you think we should do? The more I started getting into a listening mode and actually making them challenge each other, it kind of like a light bulb went off, right? The team went off, they were sitting together, they were wanting to solve this particular problem. And that was a huge aha moment for me. Here I was thinking that I am giving all the answers. It seemed very clear. I'm being very articulate, talking to them, going on the whiteboard, but I was the only one who was talking. I was absolutely not listening. I was not giving them the space to challenge each other, to challenge my assumptions. I was not creating space for debate. So in terms of return on investment, the fact that I read the book, I was able to implement it in my organization like within the 30 days, I think is an amazing aha moment for me. And I would say, like you said, this book is written from an US perspective, right? Every character here in the book is an American. Even, especially in an Indian context, it is far more challenging because people don't ask questions naturally. People don't want to talk or challenge assumptions naturally, especially if you are a leader, you're the manager. The minute you have a title associated with your name, your subordinates will not ask you questions. They might ask you questions as to, hey, when do you want to be done, but they will not challenge your assumptions. So here, in an Indian context, leaders have to be far more a debate maker, in my opinion. They have to create the space, they have to invite questioning, they have to invite that us challenging your own assumptions if you truly want to be a multiplier. So that's my short takeaway.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think what a beautiful example she gave. She was a diminisher to start with. You know, she was taking the decisions and trying to push it to the team, and team was not responding naturally. Can I extend the question? Did you believe that probably they wouldn't have the solution, and you have the solution?
I'm sure, right? So I think the other second aha moment is that accidental diminisher part of it.
Right, exactly.
You think the word diminisher means that you come at it with a very bad intention. That's not true. You actually come at it with an extremely good intention. You've sat through, you've thought through, you think you have a solution, but the way you're presenting to it, it's like, I'm going to tell you what, because this was a cross-functional team. I could see the collaboration where each person was sitting within their own department. So automatically I thought I had the answer. They did not have the answer, or they couldn't see it from my perspective. This was the assumption with which I had come into that space, which is obviously not working at all. And reading the book, it kind of made me realize why it was not working.
Okay,
and
wonderful.
And made me immediately change the way I was approaching.
Super. The best part is you were quick to change your approach, and you also saw the result. So that's how practical this book is. So I really encourage you, even at my company, CADD Centre, one of the successes in our earlier days is we didn't get the best of, I wouldn't say best of talent. We got ordinary people, but they were all delivering extraordinary work just because we believed that they could. You know, we gave that opportunity. The kind of debate-making decisions is what usually happens. They felt included, including me, and we were part of the company. So that kind of empowerment was what makes them work, and that's what Multiplier does as a leader. So my second question is, in your experience, you said you've been working right across. Have you worked under a multiplier or a diminisher? What impact did it have on you or your team? You can take it from any part of your life, professional life, working with a diminisher or a multiplier. You don't need to name, but yeah.
Yes, it happens. We have worked with multiple multipliers and also with multiple diminishers. And some diminishers who have also turned out to become multipliers, which is an excellent one to take care, because it took some time for him to understand that what I was trying to get through was important for him, so that, you know, we could together do something much bigger than the sum of parts is always bigger than, you know, so that's how it is. So that's how the experience has been. Like, you know, initial phase of ones is, especially when you were working in about 45 years ago, you know, they as she rightly put, you know, the whole concept was the boss is always right. You know, it's okay. So you only execute instructions, right? So, but then that doesn't, when you start going up the ladder and when you take up roles to do that, so I knew what it meant, that if I do this, I won't get the best out of my team. So ideal is to give my team the space, listen to their ideas more. And this one very nice experience I had was in a public sector undertaking, when I was asked to do a particular job which was actually challenging, and it was not in my field of expertise. It is totally out of my field of expertise, and it's a refinery shutdown. And a refinery shutdown is a very, very, very time specific, and you need to do that. And a job given was very, very different to do that. What I could do was, I don't have expertise in all those, but still as a manager to take up, was to rely on your team's expertise and give them the entire space to think about it, to do that, which, you know, brought out a phenomenal amount of, you know, you could see them, because especially when you have people in the non-supervisory cadre and so on, they have only listened to instructions. They have never made decisions. So I said, no, you guys can make the decisions, which you think deem fit for it. That makes a lot of improvement. Even my small organization, I have very little people. The team is absolutely at their decision making is left to them. Yes, they do make mistakes. It does cost us. But then once if they can learn out of it, that's enough. Next time they will bring you what you need. That's been one of the good experiences we have had. You will face diminishers always. In any of your corporate life, if somebody says he has not faced one, he's not truthful.
So how does the diminisher impact you? Were you sort of affected by it and change your course, or you sort of try to handle the diminisher?
See, definitely what happens is it again depends on at what role you are. At certain points, you will simply have to just toe in line and just keep going. But sometimes you will have an opportunity where you could sometimes get an opportunity to sit across and then explain. It does help. Sometimes they still don't. You have to take it and then go. But then what happens is your output performance would definitely go down. And today's condition, as I see, more and more people realize this, and I see the work environment is lot different than what it was 40 years ago.
Thank you, Sekhar, for those insights. Sowmya, the same question is applicable to you. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think in your work life, you come across a lot of diminishers and a lot of multipliers. I think prior to reading this book, I probably did not know to give that term to this. You just have this feeling that you like working for certain people and you don't like working for certain people, right? For whatever reason. I think this book has helped me at least articulate those things. So for this, as I was thinking about it, I have like two examples, and one of the examples is from earlier in my career. I think it was about 27 or 28, and I had set up an Indian operations for a US based company, and my company had gotten acquired by another company, and so all of a sudden I had a new boss, right, who was in the US, and I see a lot of young people over here, but this was a guy that I hated, right, because nothing that I gave to him, I would present something to him and he would find a million fault with it, and it was just nothing I could do pleased him, right? And I know, I was like, what the heck, man? I mean, I'm trying to do my best here and he's finding fault with everything that I present to him. But he kept pushing me. He kept saying, okay, is this it? Can you do better? Can you do better? And I had to keep elevating whatever it is that I had to present. But eventually what ended up happening was the new company decided to expand the Indian operations based on my performance. Now, reflecting back at that time, I hated the guy. Very openly, I'm telling that. He was a very tough boss. But now I realize that he actually played the challenger role in my life, right? And of course, I was super happy and I was super thrilled when the parent company decided to expand the Indian operations, and we went from 20 people to 150 people within a matter of 3 months, and I had suddenly new responsibilities to do. So yes, I discovered a potential in me that I did not exist, but thanks to this boss of mine, who, even though at that time was very difficult, but he actually challenged me to produce the best because he saw something in me that I had not seen in myself, right? And I think, so to a lot of young people here, when you have tough bosses, just step back and look at the purpose behind why they're asking the question, why they're asking the difficult question. Is it really to make you produce better outcome than it is? So reading that book kind of gave that thing that, sometimes you need those challenges in your life because you're very comfortable being in a very, like they say, growth doesn't happen if you're not uncomfortable. So sometimes you just get used to being very comfortable. You get used to going and doing the same thing day in and day out, but that's not growth. So you do need some challenges in your life who are pulling you out and giving you that, the kick in your behind. So I've had that. That is one challenger that I can be very grateful for right now. Of course, there have been many diminishers as well. Like Sir said, I think, sometimes you try to work around it. Sometimes you figure out whether you can manage it. You can, and there's a great chapter on the book as well as to how to deal with diminishers, which I thought was fantastic. But sometimes if it doesn't work, I think it's also important to recognize that and make a change. I don't think it's if you feel you have potential and if you feel like it is not being tapped in the current workplace, sometimes it is important. But I wanted to make that distinction because don't leave a challenger. Yeah. That's the distinction that I want to make. Sometimes you think your boss is very tough, but if he's got the right intention of getting the best out of you, he will be challenging, or he or she will be challenging. That's not the reason to move out because you're uncomfortable. So embrace that discomfort if it means that you will grow.
Okay. That's a fantastic insight. So you said you hated it, right? So he was basically an accidental diminisher. He challenged you for your good with right intention, but you didn't like it till the time you realized that your idea is. So could he have done it differently?
Perhaps. I think, and again, I feel this is a cultural difference here as well. He was an American, I was Indian, and I think in the Indian context, if somebody raises their voice and talks, or if somebody is a little bit passionate, you think they are scolding you. This is kind of how we've grown up. We're all very nice to each other. We want to be people pleasing, and we don't really, get into arguments and fights and things like that. So I think it was more a cultural difference. I wouldn't call him an accidental diminisher. I think if it was the same, culture, it probably would not have been that. But I think it's just that, sometimes coming from an Indian context, we don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
And he was just a little bit confrontational. That's what in my reflection. Of course, back then I didn't know better. I was young as well, right? So and I think, but it did not for 1 minute make me think that I wanted to quit. It made me want to do better.
Do more, yeah.
Yeah, it made me want to say, hey, I'm going to prove him wrong. So let me do better. So that was the kind of like the give and take.
So that was a positive thing. So you always hear like, as a leader, you're not running for a popularity contest, right? You have to be tough when you have to be. So as a multiplier, these people are not nice to you, but they challenge you and stretch you to the extent that you deliver your best, for which they need to be tough. They ask some real tough questions. That doesn't mean they are trying to put you down, but actually stretch you. That's what the thing. In fact, I had a opportunity in my second job as an youngster to work with the diminisher, the old school management, like instruction and you follow. People used to be afraid to go and meet him to that extent, because he'll always shout, he's always under tense moment, always trying to control. So I observed him for 3 months and said, okay, how do I handle this person? I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, but I know he's doing it for a certain purpose. So I tried to understand the purpose, and he was actually doing it for the company, not for himself. All the tension and other things is to meet the company's goals. So once I understood it, my communication changed. So whenever I wanted something or I wanted to get something, I would always say, would it be better for the company if we do this? And his acceptance was really good. And within 2 months, I became a sort of consultant to him. Okay. So that's what I realized. Once you understand the person, you are in a better position to deal with them. Okay, so that's fantastic. So let me move on to the next question, which is, we saw the 5 disciplines of a multiplier. So among these disciplines, like talent magnet, liberator, challenger, debate maker, and investor, which of you relate to most as a multiplier?
I would say more of a liberator.
Liberator, okay.
That's the comfort point I have.
Okay, so you give space and allow them to make mistakes so that they deliver their best.
They'll deliver their best, and you only course correct.
Okay.
Don't do anything else.
Okay, this way you can attract a lot of good talent as well.
Yes, of course, I also do lose them. I lose them to very big corporates who pick them up.
Okay.
I churn a lot of guys out who come to me with absolutely very poor qualifications, but then within a couple of years, they turn themselves to be so good, they are attracted by big corporates.
Okay, so you're not only a talent magnet, you allow them to get attracted by others.
Absolutely, there's no holding them. It's better not to hold them.
Okay, great, understood. It's a practical thing. And Sowmya, which of the 5 disciplines you relate yourself to?
I think it was the investor for me. And again, I think I can relate it to an experience over the last year or so where, and here is the thing, right? I don't think anybody is a multiplier all the time or a diminisher all the time. You kind of go through all of these shades, right? So there was a junior HR person in my organization, and I started becoming very micromanaging. I mean, because in the sense that I wanted things to be done, and this is a fairly fresh talent, and I had to teach her, and it became a little bit of, okay, let's write the operating procedures, let's do the checklists and things like that. And I know that I turned into becoming a micromanager for her. And yet, things were simply not working out. But then after a while, I had to kind of take a step back and start having conversations around why are we doing what we are doing. And, ask her to go attend some YouTube videos, watch some YouTube videos, read some books, and come back, have conversations about why are we doing this process and what are we trying to accomplish with this. It's a long process. It's not an immediate, quick result. But I can say that over the last, 1 year or so, the growth that she's had has been amazing. That it's been possible for me to step away from a lot of those daily, day in and day out activities, and I can see the result. So yeah, I think investor is probably what I have.
Investor is a very, very important aspect because that's when you sort of empower your employees by making them know the purpose of your business and also make them accountable. So when I relate to CADD Centre again, if any of our customers talk to any of the CADD Centre people, they will feel they are talking to the owner of the business. To that extent, the commitment and accountability was there. And that's a process. Like you said, it's a long drawn process. Faster you do it, better the results are for you. Okay, so let me move on to the next question. If there is one behavior you would stop, start, or strengthen after reading this book, what would it be?
Change is continuous. I have to keep evolving. So I can't say that there's only one behavior on which I would still say that probably I should put is to be a little more challenging for things to be given to them, because that's when I think I'll probably get the best out of them.
Okay, so you are saying I'll want to become a more challenging your people more than what you're doing currently.
Correct.
So that they can stretch themselves and deliver.
And do better.
Okay, thank you, Sekhar.
Yeah, for me, I think it is probably learning to keep quiet and listen more, probably, and through that process, ensure that others are having an opportunity to and create that space for debate that I was talking about earlier, right? And I think it's once you're running your own company or you're a leader, you cannot tolerate an awkward pause in a room, right? So if nobody is talking, you want to jump in and fill that space. It sort of comes very naturally to a lot of senior management people. You want to now jump in and say, okay, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. And you think you're being very motivating, but actually that's not true, as what I've learned from my other example that I gave. So for me, I think the one thing that I've started trying to do is to intentionally stop talking, giving instructions or giving ideas, and engaging people in a conversation. So and again, I keep coming back to an Indian context. Here we are conditioned to listen to elders. This is how we've all, this is in our DNA. When you have, to our parents, we are very deferential, right? If some elder comes into our house, we don't go and ask them questions naturally. It's very much ingrained in our DNA. So I think one of the things that I'm trying to learn more is to draw out people through a line of questioning. So if they are not talking, that doesn't mean they don't have anything to ask. It just means that they are hesitating to ask. Recognizing that and kind of throwing open some questions or figuring out other mechanisms, other ways by which you can have people engage in that dialogue and discussion and debate, because that's the only way you can grow yourself and the organization.
Yeah. So that's a very valid point you brought in. Authority plays a very important role. So if you're a person of authority, your followers really hesitate to question your authority.
Yeah, so I think another thing that I've started doing very intentionally in my conversations is to use these lines to say, hey, I don't have all the answers. I may be wrong. Don't take what I'm saying very literally. Using these things to reinforce that I don't have the answers. But through this process of dialogue, discussion, and debate, together we are going to find the answer.
Right.
And you have to do it a little bit more intentionally because, again, coming back to our cultural context, it is not something that comes very naturally to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of people who are very open. Youngsters today are quite challenging. They are not. They don't hesitate to. But that's not the general. I would say 80% of the people who still would be quiet.
Yeah. So only when we provide safe space and make them feel confident of asking questions, they'll ask. Otherwise, they'll keep quiet and also not do what you want them to do. So that's a very interesting point. So
actually, Ram, you don't want them to do what you want them to do. That is the other learning that I've had, right? You should actually make them all aspire to do something greater than even what I can describe.
Okay, when I said what you want them to do from the company's perspective, not your personal perspective, so that's the thing. So the final question for the evening, how would you introduce the concept of multipliers versus diminishers to a new team member or a leader in your organization? Maybe you can start, Sowmya, and then...
Yeah, I've had conversations with my HR. I have 2 people in my team. They both have been given books and said, you better read it. We are going to have conversations around what we're going to do. I think this is going to be definitely a must read for all of the people and all of the managers in my organization. I plan to do some workshops, discussions around these concepts with the team so that, it's because I truly believe in this concept. I think you are only as good a leader as the number of leaders you're able to create. Right. So I think it's something that I'm going to do. I also wanted to just share. So I was listening to the Audible book version in my car, and I had my young son, right? He's 12 years old. He's sitting in the car. And I thought, oh, you know what, you're there in the car, let me turn it into music channel. And he's like, no, Ma, I want to listen to this book. And he was listening to this book. And then we paused and I said, what did you understand? This is management concept. And he turned around and said, Amma, are you a multiplier or a diminisher? What are you? But then I thought there is a parallel here from a parenting perspective as well. As parents, you need to be multipliers for your children. And I think that's the same thing within a corporate context as well. If you are a leader, you have to be multipliers. You have to have the joy of seeing people who are working for you grow beyond what their limits, they think their limits are.
That's a interesting perspective. Like son always thinks mom is a diminisher because they want to bring the discipline. In the terms of discipline, they always say, don't do this, don't do that. And that becomes a diminishing act. It's great that he related, that concept with you. I think that opens up. Sekhar, your turn now.
This particular book concepts, I would definitely summarize them. If I ask them to send this book to them and tell them to read this, I can tell you 90% of them would not do it.
Okay.
They won't spend the time to read that, but instead, this has given me a lot of good insights and concise them, give them certain examples and then tell them, yeah, the reference is available. You want something more, please go through this. I'm sure this will help to my team. It's a good opening for that. I would say that I'll take this opening.
Okay.
You would have seen mostly I listen normally. I don't.
And the easiest way is to give the book and ask them to read and share it with you so that, it may not work. Maybe not the entire book. Probably give one chapter and say, hey, come back and tell you your perspectives on this. They may, okay? I know that many of us are not readers. That's the very reason why we are having this program. We are so much used to listening and seeing. So reading has sort of diminished over a period of time. But let me assure you that if you lay your hands on this book, you will feel like reading. It's that simple and that's relatable. Okay, so your final message, one message to the youngsters, based on this book.
Have faith in yourself. You have tremendous amount of potential. Realize them. And be patient. You will get your opportunity to do that. And a lot of managers are now turning to understand this. And they will be a lot less diminishers, I can assure you.
Okay. Thank you. Sowmya.
Yeah, I think for the youngsters here, if you're not reading the entire book, read that chapter on how to deal with diminishers. I think, every one of us has infinite potential. It's up to us to figure out and discover that. So do not allow the ecosystem, the people around you, or give that control to somebody else and say, I'm not growing because of that person. I think let's remove that away, because there are ways in which you can handle difficult people, difficult bosses, difficult situations, etc. The potential to grow is completely within your hands.
Thank you, Sowmya, for that. So we've come to the end of this review, but we have audience asking us questions, and these questions are right in front of you, and it's addressed to specific person, so you can read the question and give the appropriate.
Rakesh, wonderful question. How did you lead diverse teams across entrepreneurial and industry bodies while ensuring everyone contributes at their best? I've had multiple experiences in both in employment as well as on entrepreneurial and in the current industry body where I have been having this. I would let me take about the industry body currently what I'm having here. Is that, we were at a crossroad where we wanted to get all the compliances and, having systems in place so that we could follow certain systems and procedures so that we could perform much better. And so this industry body had to understand that we are here for certain specific purpose. And that was clearly sort of articulated to the team so that you all work towards the specific things for what we are here for. So that's what we are trying to slowly insist on, saying that we work towards this, our whole idea. Like, see, for example, the Indo-American Chamber where I'm heading this, we are here for a bilateral trade between India and US. All our efforts and things must be towards how do I enhance trade between these two countries. Now, to do this, who are my members? My members are all mostly from the MSME sector. Now, what I need to do is to address them that what are the impediments you are having for your growth? What is blocking you from doing this? So that's where we are trying to address this, whether it is the government or it is any of the things which you are not able to get them done, or your own internal issues, or what with respect to the other country and so on. So this is what we are trying to do. So this has helped us, and even my own team has sort of understood that we are getting focused to do this. Like this in every area of my life, we have had these experiences and it has been helpful. The question is, allow them to think, take the correct vision, what you want to do there, and then put that across, get their opinions, and then further take it forward with them.
So you need to be an investor. Give them space and empower them. Thank you. Sowmya, next question is to you.
How do you apply the concept of a multiplier in managing cross-functional teams at Kriyadocs? Yeah, excellent question. Like I said, it's after reading this book that I came across the concept of multiplier. And I think, and there were several examples in the book where I was able to directly relate, diminisher examples, where I was able to directly relate to certain managers that we have at the organization or certain incidents that had happened. And so I think it is a mindset shift that needs to be brought about. And like I mentioned earlier, I think one of the ways in which I'm planning on doing that is to make the book a mandatory reading for at least managers, do some workshops, have conversations around it, because it is super important that your managers are also speaking that same language and they are not turning into accidental diminishers. Because pressures, just to go back to what Mr. Sekhar was talking about, is you have to give the purpose, core purpose, and talk about the why. That consumes some time. In a very impatient world, you want to immediately jump into talking about the what, how will we solve this problem, what are we going to do, etc. We don't spend time on clarifying the why and the purpose. You tend to think that is time consuming, it's a waste of time. That's what I think we need to actually get better at, is to talk more about the why, the core purpose. Why are we doing what we are doing? What is important? What is, the core purpose has to be much better articulated. I think that's one of the ways in which we would do that.
I think you're reiterating the fact that purpose, which means investor, and a part of the multiplier is what you use to. Okay, fantastic. Next question is to you as well.
What role does agile methodology play in fostering a multiplier leadership culture? It's actually, agility is all about doing something, failing fast, learning from it, and iterating. This is, in a nutshell, what agility is all about. Again, I'm sorry, I'm kind of playing back on an Indian context, but it is very important, I think, to be very culturally aware of this. Why the biggest blocker for agility from a cultural context is that we take mistakes we don't have the right attitude towards mistakes. Okay, when something doesn't go well, usually it's like, I can't believe you made a mistake, or this is the reaction to it. But that right there cuts off innovation, cuts off iteration, because everybody is in the fear mode. I have to do something that is perfect, that my manager will not find any fault with it. That mindset cuts off agility, cuts off innovation, cuts off iteration. So I think there is the onus on leadership now, if you want to really foster an agile mindset, is to give that space to make failures. It's how do you react when something doesn't go well is what will foster that agility in your organization.
Wonderful. So failure should become a good word. I think one thing. So next question to Sekhar.
How do you manage to be a multiplier in a technically intensive field like electrical protection and wind energy? Okay. Well, see, in your area of whether it is electrical protection or wind energy, ensure that you give enough space to your competitors also, so that they would also bring in and challenge you, and by which you will be able to showcase, you will have your team to actually understand better, and they would grow technically, they will start pursuing to understand better, and then the more reading which will help to do that. So that's one of those things. Again, the whole thing is keep yourself updated always, whichever area wherever you are working on, because things are changing so very fast. Keep yourself updated, keep reading, and that's one of those things which I strongly believe. I request my team also to always do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Sekhar. I think the next question is from Shalini, addressed to me. In your experience, what's the most effective way to coach a team leader to move from a diminishing mindset to a multiplier mindset? Yeah, so the first thing is make the leader believe that their followers are capable of doing more than what they can do. I think, and remove the insecurity. Most of this diminishing tendency comes when there is an element of insecurity, and with the belief that their followers are not as capable as they are. So make them believe that, yes, the real success of a leader is when they make others successful, the followers successful, not when they just become successful. So more successful leaders you sort of generate, you are seen as a better leader. So the leaders who grow within the organizations are not the leaders who achieve their company's task individually. It's how, as a team, they achieve and how they make their team feel recognized and also successful. That's how it is done. I hope I have answered your question, Shalini. Thank you. Sowmya.
From your exposure to both Indian and American leadership styles, how do you compare their adoption of the multiplier mindset? I think it's an excellent question, because I kept talking a lot about the cultural context here. I think one of the, just taking off of what Ramaprasad just talked about, one of the core fundamental beliefs, if you want to be a multiplier, is that others are, if not better than you, or at least equally as a genius or capable as you are, right? Which means you actually need to have a lot of humility to accept that. So humility is at the core of this multiplier mindset as well. You need to be humble to say that, okay, this is all I know. My job is to actually empower and enable others to achieve greatness. So I think from that context, I don't see a big difference between Indian and American mindset. Perhaps, humility comes sort of naturally to an Indian cultural context. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sowmya. Now this is an open question. Hi, how should we adopt the concept of multipliers with the new generation? What is the difference in the approach compared to the previous generation? Maheshwi. Again, a fantastic question. I think diminisher won't work with the new generation. Straight away, I'll tell that. So you have to be a multiplier for you to get, the new generation work. Listen to them and understand them and encourage them to contribute. If you go about doing the diminishing work, you won't have a team soon in the new generation. Yeah. So that's my view. What you can add on to that, Sowmya and Sudhir?
They are a lot smarter, and give them the space and listen. Oh, they only need a little bit of course correction, that's all. Otherwise, they're fine.
You can go to the next question.
With AI entering HR, how can leaders ensure a balance between automation and a human touch? I think we were just talking about using ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. for simplifying tasks, and I think that AI is there in many areas of managing an organization, certainly in HR. I think what AI has been able to do is to automate or reduce some of the tactical work, giving space to the HR team to actually think and do the human touch. That's something that I have seen in our organization, that if you need to answer a particular question, figure out, do workshops, how do I even get this multiplier mindset in my organization? So much more easier now, because you can have that conversation with ChatGPT, make it create a workshop module for you and things like that. So actually, AI is going to increase the human touch, because the gross activities, which are more tactical, can now be automated or simplified.
I completely can relate to that, Sowmya, because I've been using AI for last 2 years probably, and I've become more efficient. I spend less time on mundane work and more time with the humans. So that way, you tend to spend more with the humans and less on the mundane work, which is taken by AI. So next question to Sekhar.
How do you encourage cross-functional or cross-industry collaboration as a multiplier tactic within your network? Cross-functional is already happening in most of the industries. Today you can't be watertight on that, and that is encouraging. It's happening now. Cross-industry collaboration is also there, but it's now getting more and more important, because if we saw what happened when we need good supply chain resilience. So unless you have a cross-industry collaboration, you would definitely bring a lot of mitigation in your supply chain resilience. So that is what today we are looking at, and this is very, very important. And today we don't think that just because the data is shared, I have lost my competitive edge. So in fact, it could even multiply sometimes.
Yeah, we are moving from competing to collaborating in a big way. I think that's a new way of approaching. Okay, next question is an open question. How can I shift from solving problems myself to empowering others to solve them?
Listen more, talk less.
And read the book.
Yeah, first believe that others can solve the problem. I think then, and you stop solving it. Automatically you will see others solving the problems. We all believe that we only can solve the problem, others cannot solve the problem. And it'll be a surprise to you when you give opportunities to others. They will really surprise you by solving the problem. Okay. Probably the last two questions before we wind up. What strategies can leadership use when a coordinator consistently exhibits diminishing behavior that stifles team contributions?
Yeah, I think this is something that leadership should be aware of. And like I said earlier, I think the concept of a multiplier or a diminisher is not in the vocabulary of a lot of leadership, right? So I can just if I can take a minute to explain one situation that we had in our organization. Very efficient manager, right, that we had, who would start her work at like 5 o'clock in the morning, doesn't stop until like 10 p.m. Very prompt in responding to the customer emails, and it gives you the impression that this is such a hardworking person, her heart is in it, etc., etc. But as I was reading one of this, I could completely relate that she was diminishing her team. Now, I could not relate that back then. I can relate it now after I've read this particular book. But it is important to perhaps have those skip level discussions to see if a manager is empowering and motivating and giving space to the team or is stifling them. And you can have conversations, you can coach, but that is an important aspect that leadership has to do, is to recognize that behavior and correct it.
Fine. So recognizing the diminishing behavior and fixing it is very important. In fact, in our company, we had a manager in Delhi at some point in time where he had a team of 10. Within probably 8 months, the team reduced to 3. So we knew that what is happening with that person, and we had to let him go. So that, and we rebuild the team with a multiplier later on. So this is another way to do it. So probably this is the last question we are going to take this evening. For others, please, you can send the questions through MMA. Okay, we have time? Okay, fine, no problem. So what leadership approach to retain talent management, especially among Gen Z and millennials? Wow.
Sure. I think it's an excellent question. And actually, if you reflect about it, the retaining talent is very, it's similar across all age groups, right? It's just that your slightly older 45 plus people had a different expectation. They wanted a paycheck. They were willing to put up with a lot more. Gen Zs are not willing to put up with much, right? I think the key is, if I can go back to that, it's like being very clear about what is the purpose. People today want to do something that is of a greater purpose. They want to solve a problem. They actually are coming in with a fantastic mindset. But that means that they're challenging you to give them bigger and bigger problems and bigger responsibilities. I think, like you said earlier, you cannot survive in today's world if you're adopting a diminishing mindset. You have to very quickly adopt a multiplier mindset, be very clear about the purpose, inspire people through the purpose, but give them the space and invest in them. And I think that's the way to kind of, retain talent and keep them engaged.
Absolutely. So be a liberator and make sure that you give them enough freedom, enough space, allow them to do mistakes, and then encourage them wherever possible, and don't put them down when they fail. That's very, very important, and that's how we go about. Sowmya, next question to you.
Yeah, I think being a diminisher is not rewarding at all. I think for both parties, right? So you don't really get the results that you're expecting despite working very hard, despite feeling like, and you're constantly overwhelmed by all of the stuff that you need to do. So it is certainly not a good space to be in for both parties, both the manager who's a diminisher as well as the people who are being diminished by that. So in order to change that mindset, sometimes, people don't recognize that that's how they are. They think that this is right because this is how they've seen their bosses treat them. So this is some sort of a generational trauma that we are carrying. These are the role models that we have looked upon, and this is who we have learned from. So it's not going to be easy to change that quickly. But in certain organizations, you do bring in coaches, you do bring in leadership coaches when you recognize these traits and you want to make that change. That kind of actually does help. So I think there is that support that is required for your managers to make sure that, and for all of us, not why your managers talking about all of us, right? We all have to undergo that sort of a mindset shift.
I think the leadership coaching is a very important step an organization has to take. To let them know, the diminishers, that how they are impacting their followers, because otherwise they won't. They always believe that they're doing the right thing for the organization. In a way, from the results perspective, yes. But from the followers' perspective, no. So that's how we have to do. I think we have come to the end of all the questions, and thank you very much for being such a lovely audience. I hope you enjoyed the review of the book, and please do read this book and give your feedback whenever possible. And thank you, Sowmya and Sekhar, for sharing your insights from your very own lives, and it was very, very useful and insightful to the audience. Thank you for your time and insights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaprasad, Sowmya and Sekhar. It's a fascinating evening. A lot of inputs. I know many of you would have walked in as a diminisher. I'm quite sure you'll be walking out as a multiplier. That only your people will tell you tomorrow. But try and pick up some of the valuable points given here. Very rarely somebody tells you, just sit and listen and you can execute it. And thanks also for asking some brilliant question. Viewers, thank you so much. We have got 480 viewers watching it online. There's a lot of questions. no, most of the questions have been answered by them, the discussion. That's why we eliminated some of them. Thank you, audience, for number of questions. And now I request Magesh to come on stage. Magesh is chapter of our MMA chapter at Sankalpat, along with him GM chapters to come and do the honor. We are going to give you only a gift made by children. We do a lot of work, CSR work, with poor students studying there. Along with that, we are going to give you another book to read. Actually, very interesting book. Can you step forward? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Bye bye till we meet again.